Hi, you're tuned into My Dad Says Audio. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. Today we'll be taking a look at my ADCOM GFA-545 power amp, 100 watts per channel, circa 1986. There's a bit of an interesting story as to how I acquired this amp. I was driving to visit my mother-in-law and I noticed a pile of rubbish on the curb, and I looked and something I've trained my eye to hunt out audio in amongst rubbish. And I went, oh, that looks like some audio. So I swerved over and pulled up, parked the car and ran across the road and went, oh, it's ADCOM, which wasn't at the time. I didn't really know a whole lot about ADCOM and I didn't have very much experience with it. So I thought, oh, that looks good. So I grabbed it. It also came with a 5 channel selector switch if you wanted to use it in multiple rooms, which would have been the way it was done when this amp came out, which is, as I said, 1986. So I took it, put it in the back seat, drove to pick up my mother-in-law, and took it home later that day. Got my crummy speaker. I've got some test speakers, which are some $10 speakers I bought from an op shop, specifically for the purposes of using them to test gear. And I plugged them in, and I just used my phone as a source. And it switched on. The LED came on, and nothing. There was no smoke, but there was no sound. So I was like, oh. And so I wasn't sure so I packed everything away, called my dad, said, oh, Dad, I've found this amplifier and I'm not sure what it's not working. I'm not sure what I should do. And I should mention, you can't see it now, but the top of the chassis had a moderate amount of corrosion. So we suspect it was either stored in a damp environment or operated maybe in a kitchen, a commercial kitchen. Who knows? That's a speculation. But yeah, so I called my dad and said, oh, I've put it on eBay, and I wanted 200 and someone offered me 140, and he said, no way, don't sell it for 140. That's a rip-off. Just bring it to me. I'll see what we can do. So I said, okay. My dad very rarely steers me wrong. I can't really think of any examples where he has. But so I brought it to him, and Dad, what happened next? What did you find out when you opened it up?
Oh, well, there's a bit of an interesting story. This is from 1986. This was considered, ADCOM was sort of considered high-end audio at the cheaper end of things. It's quite interesting. And my son said, oh, I've found this amp, and as you've heard the story that he found it by the roadside. And anyway, he brought it down and it was very dusty and dirty, and we've done a pretty good job of carefully dusting it out and cleaning it. And what we noticed was it's actually got, I'll see if I can show you here, there's 4 power supply rail fuses. There's 2 there and there's another 2 there. What we noticed when we pulled the fuses out were, out of the 4 fuses, 3 of them had blown. Not catastrophically, they weren't black, but they were definitely blown. So I went through with a multimeter and checked all the output devices for shorts and realised no, none of the output devices are displaying any shorts. So that was always a good sign. And I got my son to go and buy some new fuses, 4 amp 3AG fuses, and we've just plugged them in and switched it on, and they didn't re-blow, which is always a good sign. And then I checked the output for DC offset. DC offset was acceptably low, so we hooked a pair of speakers into it and we played a bit of music, and it's now singing. It's interesting with ADCOM. I believe they no longer really exist. Maybe the Chinese or something have bought the name, right to the name, but the old company itself's gone. It was interesting back in the day. I believe Nelson Pass had a fairly big hand in designing or contributing to some of their designs. So there's that influence there. This is quite a nice sounding amp. It's conservatively rated at 100 watts per channel and weighs about 11 kilos. So essentially for the cost of a few fuses, you've got yourself quite a nice amp.
Under $10 for 10 fuses. So there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, now as Dad said, it's a Nelson Pass design. So he's a bit of a maestro when it comes to solid state amplification.
Yep.
And we only literally we put it on an hour ago pretty much, and I've been listening just for the final test.
Yep.
And it's passed. It doesn't make any noise. Makes music.
Yep.
We haven't heard it through the reference speakers yet, so we don't know. We can't make the final. We can't offer you this final subjective judgment.
Yeah.
Perhaps if people want, we can do that in a future video.
Yeah.
But it sounds perfectly good and perfectly sufficient.
So you're thinking of keeping it as a standby amp?
Yeah. Well, it could. I'll have to test it against the bi-amped Fozzy V3 audios.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see it hasn't gone to landfill.
Oh, that would have been a tragedy. Yeah, that would have been sad.
Yeah. But beyond the fact that I think they've either stored it in a garage or a basement or a slightly damp cupboard. It does have a little bit of surface corrosion on, say, the lid and a couple of the panels, but it's not severe. And beyond that, it actually seems to be in quite good nick. I think you've scored quite well there. Yeah,
it's like I like Pass. I've heard a few. I've heard 2 Pass designs, and I like them both. And this is the third one, and so far so good. But I've got some fairly the US audios. If you're familiar with our channel, are a pair of D'Apolito speakers. My father did a bit of work on. He totally rewired them, got rid of the crossover board, and hardwired the crossover in, and substituted the electrolytic for a plastic in the crossover. And yeah, we were just, my dad and I were just talking, and he was suggesting that this ADCOM, because it's 100 watts, it'd probably sound quite good with my US audios.
Yeah, I think you'll find the 100 watts per channel rating is actually quite modest. It doubtlessly will put out a bit more power than that. But the other part I like is this white or cream finish, which sort of looks powder coated, I think. It's actually quite neat.
Yeah.
Something a bit different other than just a black box.
Yeah, no, it's it's a nice little lamp, bit different.
Yep.
All right, was that pretty much anything else you wanted to add?
I can't really think of anything else. I just think it's a really good score, and thankfully it's not going to landfill. Yeah,
it's been a nerve-wracking 48 hours with will it work, will it won't? But it's been green lights all the way. It's great. I'm happy.
Yeah. Apparently, though, what happens is over time with these models, those fuses fatigue. Just I guess on, switch off all the time. They fatigue, and it's not unusual for them to let go. But for just merely for the cost of cleaning it up and replacing the fuses, you've got quite a nice amp.
And my dad and I are gonna get together. I'm gonna sand the top panel down, and he's gonna spray it because he's a bit better at spraying than me. So
scrub it up a bit.
We might do a second video, or even it could be a short. Who knows? But anyway, that's it for today, everyone. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting. All right, until next time, have a good one. Bye.